Thanks, Kirsten and the Modern Mystic. And thank you all for being here today to share time and space. Again, I'm Darshana. I'm an energy intuitive, a medium. I also spent 20 years in the corporate world. Just so you know, I'm not all woo-woo. I actually have a very logical, grounded side to me, but then I could always feel energy, subtle energy as a child, like, hearing the whispers, understanding how energy flowed and moved, being able to see vibrational patterns in and around everything. So today what I want to do is help us acclimate to this changing frequency that you might be feeling in your day-to-day lives. Anyone feeling more intuitive as you're going through your day? That's probably why you're here. Sunday school in the house, right? Because we're seeking now. We're going, there's something happening. What's happening to me? And we need to make sense of it. Here in the Western culture, we're often lacking the foundational elements of basic spirituality, which is just a vibrational aspect of who we are. There's nothing actually mystical or magical. The more that I sunk into my roots as an energy intuitive, I realized that science and spirituality are really one and the same, because it is mathematical, it is vibrational. You in this physical body are nothing but a denser form of vibration. What you perceive through sight, through smell, through taste, through touch. And I'm missing one. Right, 5 senses, the 5 physical senses. What we're perceiving through our 5 physical senses is nothing but an interpretation of what? Vibration. Vibrate ion. The ion is the charge of light. And I'm building a model that I've been downloading now or channeling for 2 years. It's called ionation. Ion at ion is the idea that everything is a vibrational aspect of what we consider reality, right? Everything is just a particle of light at the end of the day. And so with ionation, it's restoring the notion that we individually are a field of energy, an ionosphere, that's now connected, always has been connected to some greater consciousness, this web or field of energy. For those of you who have tapped into that web, sometimes you see it, some of you feel it, some of you hear it, right? You know what I'm talking about? This web of collective consciousness through which, when you hold an intention, magic starts to happen, synchronicities start to happen, alignments start to happen. That's what we're moving into now as a human civilization, as a cosmic civilization, is this new awareness, this renewed awareness of our vibrational essence in this human form. So everything in the cosmic creation lies on a spectrum of essence to form. And when we get it's that simple, every thought is creating an electrical charge. Although you can't see it, it creates an electrical impulse that's then residing in your individual ionosphere, which is then uploaded to the collective consciousness. At the same time, you're downloading all sorts of things from the collective consciousness into your vibratory field. Hence, when you come into a space like this, you often feel elated, you feel lighter, you feel more grounded, more balanced. But then you step maybe into your mom's house and you're like, I don't feel so good, right? Because you feel some of that electrical charge that might be in the space, but then you're emitting emotions, emote ion. You are emitting these charges of frequency that are then affecting how you feel overall. Not only emotionally, but then physically, because physical is the denser form of the vibration. So then physical illness, your tummy starts to hurt when you walk into places perhaps that don't feel so good to you, or you're holding a thought that doesn't feel so good to you. So you start to feel that physically. You know what I'm talking about, right? So what's happening right now on the planet is that we are bringing in more of our full presence through the awareness that we are vibrational beings. So it's essentially having, call it heaven on earth, call it the divine presence. Your light being is now offered the opportunity to be fully present and aware and participating in human form. So the essence of who you are, this idea of attuning to your higher self, you're already attuned. It's a matter of what's distorting that attunement from being fully expressed. The higher self is always there guiding you. It's the collective consciousness that's aware of your awareness. You know the voice in your head? That chatty companion narrating life moment to moment, little judgy judge and the criticisms and that constant narration that's happening. You hear the voice right now? The one that might be asking, what voice is she talking about? That's the voice in the head. That's where the magic is. You see, that voice is like a software program running on the brain, regurgitating these beliefs, these cognitive patterns that shape your perception. You see, every belief is a thought that you keep thinking. So it's programming your ionosphere. So I have an IT background. So everything to me is just a bit and byte and an algorithm. So in this web of energy that each of you have, this brilliant field, this auric field, electromagnetic field of energy, which is actually infinite in its scale, in that electromagnetic field, every impulse that you're emitting is charging that field of energy. And then we know through quantum physics, like attracts like, right? So that's the law of attraction. But what we're often missing is the core of that is that you are a vibrational being. So now you have to own your entire energy field, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're intending. Intent ion, you are charging your field with your intention, with your thought. So immediately, you might begin to wonder, what am I thinking? What is that voice putting in my field? But then again, who's the voice in the head? What if that voice is truly just a software program reiterating the beliefs that you've been conditioned into, condition, right? Every cult we're a part of, every culture we're a part of indoctrinates us with a set of beliefs which are created to propagate a particular way of thinking, a particular way of perceiving the world around us. So once you become aware that every thought, every belief is then programming this beautiful field of energy around you, but also distorting your full capacity to be fully expressed, to be liberated from the limitations that are indoctrinated into your field. Or often we create our own beliefs. I'll never love again. I can't do that. I don't fit in. Nobody understands me. All those beliefs then get charged in your field, and then you wonder why you can't feel happy. Why you can't achieve the things that you set out to, because your field of energy is polluted. So when we get that simple concept that everything simply is vibration and that voice in the head is just a software program running in the brain, we go, who's programming that voice in the head? It's not the higher consciousness, it's the indoctrination of the beliefs that are poured into us unknowingly oftentimes, right? So then we have to step back and say, who hears that voice in the head, that voice that's chatting away? Who's hearing that voice? There's like two of you rattling around in there, right? Who's often battling yourself. So when you become aware of the presence that hears that voice in the head, that's when you now have capacity to be self-authoring. You get to unscript all these conditioned ways of being, and you get to choose who you are in this moment. It's like a reset button. So what's happening in this collective consciousness expansion is that as we own our vibrational essence, we get to clean up our field. It's like a reset button. It really is that simple. The vibrations, this week especially, we're entering the 8-8 Lionsgate portal. Hold on to your seats, my friends. All the way up to the 11th. It is a magical time for us to literally reset who we are in order to now stand up a new civilization. Look at the polarity around us. Look at the level of conflict that's been heightened, maybe in your own lives, but definitely in the larger scale, which is nothing but an amplification of what's happening inside of us, right? So what's happening now, we have such a contrast between what we want and what we don't want, that now we can leave behind what we don't want in an instant and stand up a new civilization of our choosing, of our design, of our intentionality. Because once you become aware that you're a vibrational being, you can program what's in your field, which then gets uploaded to the collective consciousness, which then gets downloaded to each and every one of us. How beautiful is that? We are artificial intelligence not knowing we are each artificial intelligence, artificial because we've been indoctrinated with beliefs that oppress us. Oppress ion. And then we wonder why we're depressed. Because there's lack of expression. The ion wants to be expressed. If you're not doing what you love, how does that feel? Monday morning sucks. Monday morning is not fun. But when you do what you love, Monday's just another play day. In fact, you're probably working every day because you realize you're a co-creator in the universe. So that voice in the head can be programmed by this higher consciousness. Everybody wants to seek outside of themselves, but this vibration is already within you. It is you. There's something animating this physical body. So what I'm doing right now is a form called lucid channeling, where through the years of my spiritual practice, I've realized that we can attune ourselves in a moment to our highest vibration, that pulsation that makes us uniquely yours. So, as we were talking about earlier, everything in the universe has its unique vibrational signature. You have your own unique configuration of light that makes you distinctly you in all the cosmos. Can you guys hear me back there okay? You are distinctly you in all the cosmos. A unique configuration of light. Pulsation, pulsate ion. So once you begin to realize the beauty of being individuated from this collective consciousness, you now have full latitude to design life as you choose to live. The narrative of the past is simply a story you keep telling yourself, and when we carry that story around, it's part of us. It's in our field of energy, and then we read other people as if that's the truth. Although time doesn't exist. There is no past, there is no future. All we know is there's what we perceive as this present moment, which is still a distortion of all the lenses of beliefs that we have. So your reality is different than my reality. How you perceive is quite different than how I perceive. And the magic is when we put our perception together, that's truth. Everything is a fractal of truth because everything is an offshoot of the source energy, the source vibration. It's simply on a spectrum of negative, lower vibration to higher, positive vibration. So you see, judgment fades away in this new paradigm of reality because everything is simply riding on the spectrum of negative to positive, from essence to form. So now recognizing that you have this operator, this conscious awareness, this unique vibrational signature that's uniquely you, I'm going to invite us to lean into that a little. So first of all, breathe. I see a lot of people not breathing in here. How are you feeling? Is everyone? So as we're breathing, I'm going to start doing some energy work. So part of the way of Lucid Channel, I have no script, which really scares, I'm going to share this, the bejesus out of me. I spent, like I said, 20 years in corporate. I always knew my bullet points. I have no bullet points, and it's very vulnerable to be up here with all of you, as it's probably vulnerable to sit there and have no idea what's coming at you. So I appreciate the trust that it takes to be in a space like this. So I'm going to invite you to breathe. See, as we breathe, we become aware of that awareness. Eyes open, closed, soft gaze, whatever keeps you comfortable. You see, that's the biggest thing in this next paradigm, is you worry about you. Not even worry, you care about you. Self-love first, because when self-love is first, we remain centered. So as you're breathing, start leaning in. Feel your unique vibrational signature. You're simply a divine arrangement of light with your own unique pulsation, this beautiful frequency, this resonance. That's you. And only you from this individuated source vibration, this source consciousness. So as you're breathing in and out, just relaxing into that vibration, because what's most important is for us now to move beyond the reactionary mode that's triggered from the primal brain that's often running the show. Reaction, react ion. We are scripted individuals, so as you're breathing, it's an opportunity to notice your awareness, becoming aware of your awareness, hearing that voice in the head, and then stepping back with every inhale, stepping out of that software program running in the brain, and becoming aware of that conscious awareness that hears that voice in the head. That is attuning to your higher self. You see, the stream of information, that stream of vibration that is uniquely you, is always there. But when the primal brain is activated, it is distorting the connection with that higher vibration. Because the primal brain is coming from a place of fear and scarcity and survival. So once that brain is triggered, we are easily manipulated to be oppressed. Or we oppress ourselves through fear, through self-judgment and criticism, through detachment, through righteousness. And all of that resides in a space of non-judgment when we connect with the higher consciousness. Because that higher consciousness recognizes life is just a journey of learning, growth, contribution, and experience. And we're all playing roles in one another's scripts of learning, growth, contribution, and experience. How beautiful is it when we begin to recognize the interconnected nature of our co-creative experience? So as you're breathing in and out, feeling that connection with your own pulsation, your higher vibration, higher consciousness, that's accessible when we step out of that primal reactionary mode. Breathing is the form of our essence. Bless you. So as you're breathing in and out, just coming back to present awareness, feeling free to open your eyes, relaxing the body even more, having a nice exhale, which releases the charge of energy in the body. You become more aware. Meditation, meditate ion, meditate, the etymology is to measure. You're measuring the charge of energy in your field when you meditate. It's that simple, because then you know, ooh, girl, I'm carrying some anger. You know, you become present to the information that you have in your field, and then you just get to hold it out and you get to say, gosh, I'm feeling really angry today. I wonder what's at the core of that. So now self-reflection start. Reflect ion. You get to tap in to your own self-awareness. So you get to have the emotion versus the emotion having you. You get to have the thought versus the thought having you, which takes us out of reactionary mode. So now you're tapping in to your higher self. You're attuning to the greatness, this co-creator of who you are, because now you're remembering you're a vibrational being, having a vibrational experience in this beautiful vibrational cosmic connection. So in this next paradigm, it's now about recognizing, once we turn off the primal brain, that there's me and there's you, and now there's we. Interconnection, interconnect ion is the essence of this next frequency band that we're moving into. Comes from the heart, compassion, compass ion. Navigating to the field of energy and the charge that remains between ourselves and individuals. Compass ion. So as we navigate to that charge, now we have the capacity to harmonize what friction there might be between ourselves, the one self and another, one nation and another, one cosmic creation and another. We could talk about ETs another day. So what we're waking up to is now this idea of interconnection. And so with interconnection comes the accountability to own the energy that we're walking around with in this field that's uniquely ours, which is a fractal of source consciousness. So coming back to the idea that everything is just a divine arrangement of light, imagine that you have this field of energy. Every thought you're thinking is emitting a pulsation that's creating a series of ones and zeros, these energetic patterns in this multi-dimensional, very intricate field around you, which is connected, again, to the higher consciousness, the collective consciousness. And so as you're emitting this information, it's then giving you the lens through which you interpret the world around you. What you're able to perceive is a function of your cognition. How you know what you know. The etymology of the cognition, the cognate part, is how you know the light. How you know the light. Which then yields your experience. Are you guys tracking so far? Any questions before I continue on? How are you feeling? Good, all right. So take another deep breath. Now, in this next phase of civilization, it behooves us to let go of the information that we might be carrying on from the past. Resentments, unfinished business with ourselves and other people. Anything that feels heavy, we have the opportunity to let go, especially this week. So imagine, if you will, this field of energy with all these ones and zeros. It's either union, union, zero, right? Polarity doesn't exist, or ion. It's a charge of one. It's something that's manifested on the spectrum of essence to form. So in this holographic field of energy, you're carrying around, we are carrying around, all sorts of old information we no longer need, which makes us feel heavy, which limits our full sense of joy and compassion, our ability to connect with one another without preconceived notions and judgments, because of these layers of perception that are often unrecognized, undistinguished. So imagining this field of energy around you, as you're breathing, imagine all of these distortions, these ones, simply change to zero. It really is that simple. You're programming light. So imagine the person that maybe you have some unresolved business with. A family member, maybe there's a spouse, maybe a child or some friend where there's something unresolved. So there's a charge of energy that remains in the field between you, yeah? So imagine that field of energy, just noticing yours. Now, as you're breathing in and out, imagine allowing those configurations of unfinished business to be resolved. Resolution, resolute ion. Allowing the polarity, the charge of energy between you and the other to literally evaporate. And then breathing out, every exhale is an opportunity to release what no longer serves you. Feeling the energy rising through your feet as you're breathing in and out. We want to keep a strong connection to Gaia. This is a time, as we're feeling elated with cosmic energy, to ground the energy. That's what makes us so special as human beings, is that we have this physical form, which is a divine vessel of light. So now we are here to anchor this higher vibration into this reality in order to stand up this new civilization that is one marked with self-authoring, which is marked with compassion, which is marked with the desire to be interconnected co-creators of our experience. So as you're breathing in and out, just feeling that flow of divine energy, resourcing you. Look at the word resource, bringing us back to source. It's so simple. Breathing is a resource. Friendship is a resource. Sunday school is a resource. Anything that brings you back to your core pulsation, the idea that you are a vibrational being. Sitting in nature is one of the easiest ways to resource. Spending time with your pets, is a wonderful way to resource. If you want to attune to your higher consciousness, simply find ways that resource you, because what that does is dissolves away, as you just did, patterns in your energy field that no longer serve you. You see what happens with those charges in the energy field, they're encoding the DNA, and then when we have children, we're propagating that same information down the lineage. Your children inherit the belief systems that you have, whether orally or by default through the DNA. So now's the time for a deactivation of information that we're perpetuating through the DNA, which is real time. So as you reset your DNA, your children feel that shift. Your parents feel that shift. So it behooves us as individuals now to become so accountable to the energy that we're holding in our space, because we are interconnected. Your happiness, your joy affects my happiness, my joy. Because I see it out on the roads. If you're not happy and having a good day, I definitely sense it, as do you. So we ripple through our day, affecting one another's energy fields. You know, that beautiful ionosphere you have around you is bombarding everyone else's field of energy around you. Collectively, we're creating an energy field, and we're exchanging information, inform et ion, through communication. Communicate, ion. So these charges of light are constantly in a dance, sharing information. When we talk about reading energy, literally we are reading energy, this field of information, inform et ion, that's telling me your light is saying this to my light. But that information is distorted based on my perception, based on your perception of what is truth, which is a function of the beliefs, the union of cognition and emotion. So now emotions become the GPS. Many of you know all this, right? Emotions are the GPS, the navigation system to say, are you attuned to your higher self, or do you have some toxins in your energy field that are keeping you from being centered, from being fully expressed, from being loving and compassionate to yourself first, which is then mirrored in all the relationships around us. Right. Pausing for any questions, any observations. Observe at ion. Anything coming up for you? You guys were so loud when I walked in here. Do you need to stand up? Do you need to move? Yeah, okay, we'll start here.
So when you talk about moving into the next high vibration of the next stage of humanity and human consciousness, what is the chronological timeline that you see?
Yeah. Okay, great question. Yes, so the question is the chronological timeline of the shift that's happening. So when I plug in, because I had the same question, like, dude, are we behind? Like, come on, it seems like it's been going on, you know, around 2012, we felt the shift, 2011, and it's like, okay, still, what's happening? So what I'm getting is that it's not linear, right? Time is not linear. So actually, it's a matter of enough energy building up to now propel us into this next frequency band. So it's a matter of our own cleanup. Like what's happening here today is in service to that shift. So we are moving very close to it. You see it in your own lives, right? Your intuition is getting more heightened. People's lives are falling apart. Talk about destruction, but there's a centering that's happening, right? Or do you guys feel more centered and more balanced and more clear and more curious about who you really are? Even though, man, relationships might be falling apart. There's more divorce going on than I know what to do with, right? There's career changes happening. There's people like, mic drop, Friday, I'm out of here. Like, you're just done with the job, right? And you leave it. And then you're happier, and then you're like, what am I going to do now? But then you turn to your higher consciousness, and you say, I open my arms because I don't know what I'm doing. And that's when we wake up, is that when we're done suffering, we don't have to suffer anymore. When we're done suffering, we don't have to suffer anymore. And that's what I realized, is that liberation becomes a choice when we say, I'm tired of being oppressed. Side note, I had an arranged marriage 3 weeks out of college. My daughter's sitting back there. That's the most precious gift that I got. But what I got was my awakening. 20 years of corporate, eroding away my soul. And I said, ooh, there's a new game to play. What can I do? I left corporate America, single, with a daughter. And I said, I know what I'm here to do. I'm just going to step into it and trust the universe will provide for me. And it has. All of you know you have the capacity to do that, because when we do that, we show up for one another. You showed up today. We show up for one another because we say, I value you. I value your gift and your divine expression. You are a divine expression. Show me your gift. Let me experience it. Look at this beauty of the space that we sit in now. That was someone's dream, someone's desire. Kelly, thank you. Yes?
I have two quick questions. The first one was, you referred to 2012.
Yeah.
So do you remember how there was all that stuff online about the Mayans saying the world was going to end? Do you think that that was just, that meant that type of civilization was ending and we were moving into a new form of civilization? And my second question is, you talk about paying attention to the voice in your head. And I think of that as like the observer effect, right? You observe your thoughts. And I find when I do that a lot, I start to go crazy a little bit. So my question is, how do you do it without going crazy a little bit? Or is that the discipline? Is that the commitment to the process?
Excellent. So we'll start with question one, and I didn't want to forget the other question that was on that side of the room. So 2012. So people apply a lot of meaning to how they interpret that calendar. It's cosmic. It was chronological, showing us, it's similar to in the Vedic tradition, we call them the Yuga cycles. We're moving from an era of darkness to lightness. So imagine the wheel of consciousness imprinted through astrology, right? Everything is in harmonic balance. So astrology, numerology, all of that is one day going to be scientifically proven, because it's nothing but this massive wheel of energy that's aligning and imprinting what we're feeling in our individual fields. So 2012 was a pivotal time of this churning out of darkness into lightness. So there was a lot of recalibrating happening, a lot of like, something's going on, I'm seeing things, I'm feeling things, I'm letting things go. So to me, that's what that 2012 shift was. It was not an ending of civilization, it was a rebirth of this next phase. And your other question about the voice in the head and feeling crazy when you listen to that voice, excellent, because that voice itself is so crazy. So what I always recommend is journal what that voice is telling you. Like let it out, especially in the morning or before bed. And you will notice the insanity of those thoughts, those conditioned ways of being. That's why I call my company Unscripted Way. We are scripted human beings, and until we're aware of what that voice is telling us, it's running the show. So have the voice versus the voice having you. So once you allow that little, for me it's like a 4 or 5 year old, and I get all the thoughts out, I'm like, boy, that's some cray-cray. But then I get to step back and go, okay, my little 4 or 5 year old was heard, it's gonna run off to the other room, and now I feel clear because I know what I'm thinking versus the thoughts doing all the guiding for me. So when you do feel that craziness, that's the juice of it, because there's someone noticing you're pretty crazy. Trust me, your friends do, but now you see it for yourself. You see the regurgitate at ion, you see the regurgitation of those thoughts that are running the show, that are oppressing your expression, because all that noise, thought upon thought upon thought, is doing nothing. As an energy worker, I see these like structures of light around people, and I'm like, oh, dang. It's like taking a sledgehammer sometimes and having to break through these layers of energy, because every thought is creating more thought form. Thoughts do become things because energetically you're attracting more of that same thought in your energy field. So when you do feel crazy noticing that voice in the head, give that voice an outlet. Journaling is wonderful. Recording yourself. And it doesn't matter about rereading the stuff. Actually, don't do that except the first few times, just to realize the insanity. And then put it away, shred it, burn it, whatever it is, because that thought has been heard. It doesn't have to be activated again and again and again.
So you're saying that's just a thought. That's not who we are. That's just a thought.
Exactly.
And then the person that is noticing the thoughts, that's who we really are.
That's attuning to your higher consciousness. The observer, the aware The one who's aware of your awareness is who you really are. And you know when you're tapping into that because there's no past, there's no future, there's no judgment. It's simply observation. Krishnamurti has a great phrase that I love. Observation without evaluation is the highest form of intelligence. Observation without applied meaning making, which is the cognitive structures of your mind, the neural networks that shape your perception, right? Every belief gets wired in the brain, and then what you believe is what you perceive. So observation without the applied meaning making or evaluation, evaluate ion, right? The perspective that we put on reality. Observation without evaluation is the highest form of intelligence because you're saying something just as it is.
Like just notice it like a mouse running across the floor. Like, oh, that's interesting, and let it go.
Mouse running across the floor. And then you get to say, is there something I should do about that?
Okay. I love that. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for being here. Good. It's juicy, right? When you realize that, I mean, life really is mystical. And that juice has been squeezed out of us. So now we get to replenish it by reawakening our vibratory essence. We get to own our reality. We get to proclaim who we are moment to moment. And then that ripples out into the collective. I wanted to go over here for the question. Do you still have a question?
So you talk a bit about letting go of the energy of conflict. So my question is potentially the ultimate question: what happens when that conflict is with yourself, with what you perceive as your higher self or the divine itself?
Thanks for the question. Let me make sure I understand. So when you have an inner conflict between what perhaps the voice in the head is saying and your consciousness, the higher consciousness is, so tell me explain the inner grappling a little more for me.
So just thinking about...
Or give me an example.
Okay. So, for example, you go through something incredibly difficult, and there's that question of, for lack of a better term, and having grown up in America, why me, God? And that conflict feels as though it's actually happening with the source, with the divine, with your higher self, or whatever you want to call that higher vibration. How do you deal with letting that go? Because it's one thing to let go of a conflict with, say, another person, but when it feels as though your conflict is with your essence, what goes?
So let me make sure that I understand. I want to fully appreciate the question. So when grappling with one's own essence,
Yes.
if you're grappling with your own essence, there's still a layer of the egoic expression that's trying to interpret or control what that divine expression is yielding to you. Because when we allow source to flow through us, it's a natural integration that happens. So when there's that inner battle, it's alluding to, or it's bringing to the surface additional layers of cognition that are in disharmony, incongruent energy with the source that wants to be expressed. So what is there to do is to, for me, it would be to yield to the knowing that there is something else that I can't see right now. Does that? Otherwise, we can talk offline. I want to make sure I fully understand. Okay?
Darshana, can I comment on that?
Yeah, please.
So your conflict, I think essentially what she's trying to say will never be with your higher self. Because your higher self is always the highest embodiment of the true nature of the fullness of who you are. And so the grace, the beauty, the amazingness, right, that you can step into is something that you'll always gravitate towards. So you'll never be in conflict with that. So it might be a little bit of a different question, but the higher self is something you'll always homogeneously respond to, go into, fulfill, and be with. Does that make sense? So the conflict isn't with the higher self. The conflict is actually with the programming that you have that interprets the higher self as this thing when it's not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. So it is that interplay between that cognitive response, right, the wired brain, the voice in the head, and that divine expression. The divine expression is always whole and complete. So when we allow that to flow, there's always whole completeness, well-being. When there's conflict, that inner battle, that turmoil, it's telling us that there's a cognitive pattern that's not aligned with that core vibration, and that's when we feel negative emotion. Negative emotion is just telling us we're not aligned with that core resonance of who we are. There's something out of balance, is what that means. So, question, yes?
You mentioned that we're in a specific time.
Say that
You
again?
mentioned that we're in a specific time period that's going to be going through the 11, something about a portal. I am super unfamiliar. Can you explain what that means for us right now and what that looks like for us in the next week?
Sure. So this is my understanding. So I consume some information that's related to the astrology readings because I notice with clients when I'm working there are definite trends. So what I'm understanding right now, so the question was around the 8-8 portal and this the 11th. My understanding is this week we're closing out the third pulse of these eclipse cycles, which have been accelerating our individuated awakening. Right, so in the last probably, 3-4 weeks, you may have seen all of these old people showing up in your life that you hadn't seen in a while, all these reconnections happening, maybe more friction at work, or maybe great things are happening and propelling you into your next phase and next direction. So there's a lot of destruction, but there's a lot of intentional creation that's happening right now. So this week, my understanding is this propulsion into this next vibration. So it's an amazing time to clean up and drop what we don't want to bring forward into this new realm of individuated and collective consciousness.
It's interesting. My birthday's on the 11th, so I feel like I really resonate with all that, so I was just quite curious.
Yeah, it's a deep reset time. Great day for a birthday. 8/11. Excellent. Excellent. Yes?
I don't know if this is correct or not, but when I have a negative emotion, I'm always saying this because you talked about negative thoughts. I always think of it as me not being caught up with who I really am.
Yes.
I don't know if that's right, but like if I look at a girl and I'm like, who does she think she is? And then I feel icky about it, it's because my higher self would never think that, and I need to catch up to where I really am.
Exactly. So the negative vibration, negative emotion that you're feeling is telling you that you are in a wobble out of your core vibrational frequency. You're simply out of alignment. So then you can say, gosh, why did I think that? I don't need to think that. And then restore that flow now with a different thought, or just letting it go. Don't even give it any more energy, because then that will also imprint in the field. So then you can very quickly come back to center. Come back to center. And that's why meditation becomes important, because we know then when we're out of balance. Right now, many of us are walking around not even knowing what we feel like. What is our unique expression? What is our core vibrational signature? For me, by the way, it often feels like a filament of energy between my heart and my solar plexus. It's like I imagine it as this filament, this vibration. And when I'm breathing, I start tapping into that space, and I feel a frequency, and I go, oh yeah, that's me. And then I start feeling all the energy around me that is not in alignment. Thoughts, beliefs, emotions that I need to work through that I might have been suppressing the light, which is now ready to emerge. So, as we're moving into this next phase of interconnection, I love coming to the idea of systems theory. So in my corporate years, I also have a master's in conflict, and it was this idea that in systems theory, a system is not simply a sum of its parts. It's the sum of its parts interactions. So you think of your automobile. Your automobile wouldn't run with just every piece sitting there, right? It has to interact. All the pieces have to come together to now create this engine. So you in your life, you in society, us in civilization, are these elements of that automobile helping the entire engine of civilization run. So a system is not a sum of its parts, it's the sum of its parts interactions, interact ions. So now flipping systems theory on its head, what in the world is interacting? Or I like to say, what the hell's interacting is the ion itself, the charge of light. So as we step into this new vibrational field of reality, as we reawaken the idea that we are vibrational beings, we then have the capacity to moment shift our collective evolution, because every ion, every ion that we are holding, that we are offering, that we are receiving, is what is driving that mechanism of civilization. So now we need to be accountable for what we're carrying around as information in our heads, in our energy field, in our hearts in the forms of emotions. We have to be more aware, or the invitation is to be more aware of the exchange of information with one another, the ions that we are offering or receiving through compassion, compass ion. How are we moving about our day when there's some judgment? How do we reel that in? And how do we own it in that moment? Because guess what? That judgment of someone else just rippled out into their field. Thoughts become things. That becomes a thought form. We are imprinting one another's energy fields. So now as we become more aware of that, there's a natural propensity to come back to our common humanity as vibrational beings. As human beings, not human doings. So this next phase is about being, not doing. You see, the doing will arise in a new context of loving, compassionate interconnection when we realize every interaction is creating energy, it's creating friction and tension, which is nothing but the beauty of the duality that's helping us become more clear on what we want. The friction, the tension that we feel in life creates new vision, creates new inspiration, inspirate ion. That is the fuel of the universe, is the charge of creation. So without contrast, life would be pretty boring. But when we have contrast, we don't know what to do with it. We feel tense, we feel stressed. Look at the word stress. It's the friction that we feel in our own minds, in our own fields, with one another. How's this resonating with you? Yeah? We have about 10 minutes. Any other questions? Yes?
What are some of the most powerful ways you moved things from essence to form, like your creation, manifestation, techniques, or things that you do that kind of accelerate that process or magnify that process?
Great question. So the question is around accelerating manifestation. Man, I love manifesting. I love manifesting some crazy shit sometimes. So, for example, I got a wild idea one day that I was going to do some extras acting. It was like bucket list, right? So I signed up online for one of those extra acting things. It was like 2 years back. And I said, I'm an Asian and I'm a juggler. That was like the skill that I put down. I'm a medium. And it was a year later, I get this urgent email. It's a casting agency looking that night for an Asian juggler for a Sylvester Stallone movie. So it was an action movie. So, manifestation happens when you create the desire, you take the action aligned with that desire out of no fear. You're just like, yeah, let's try it. And then you just see what happens. You just see what happens. So the non-attachment for me is one of the best ways for me to accelerate the manifestation. So it comes from a place of joy and curiosity and the desire to be expressed and to squeeze the essence out of life playfully and joyfully. I notice when I bring joy into my life, there's some shit that opens up. Love opens up. Beauty opens up. fun opens up. Exploration, curiosity. I say live life through the eyes of a child, that awe, like, you know, you see those people and you're like, where are they from? Be those people where you're just like, what's that crystal? You know, you're just like in awe of everything, because you'll notice all of a sudden the synchronicities are all around you. You're probably seeing this right now. We are in this new vibration where manifestations and synchronicities like fall from the freaking sky. You know what I'm feeling? And so this is the time where manifestations will be more accelerated as long as we are in alignment without resistance to that receiving. So now is a time, you know, we've been very practiced in creating the vision of what we want, but then we block it through our beliefs in the receiving mode of what we choose to manifest. So now open up the floodgates to receive, because receiving only comes when we are in alignment with our divine selves. Because when we're not in alignment, that's creating a distortion in our energy field, and then we're like, I've been waiting for that job or that person or that car or that experience, because it's not only about the form things, right? It's about the essence of it. One way also to accelerate it is don't even worry about the form showing up. Revel in the joy of that desire itself. You know, when you desire something, you get all lit up. That's the juice of the divine expression, that energy of being alive and alert, and that's when the magic happens. I have about 5 minutes. Yes?
Is there such a thing as being within boundaries as you align to your higher self? Or is that like a result of your belief systems and judgments, or can you just put it in something that's greater that's right?
So I heard the word boundary in there somewhere, and then, one more time?
So is there such a thing as being within boundaries as you attune to your higher self?
Is there a such thing as being within boundaries as you attune to your higher self? I would say, for me, boundaries don't exist, because what I like to see is that I'm imprinting the energy field around me, and what's not in alignment simply falls away. What's not in alignment can't emerge. So boundaries become, I kind of flip it, where I am casting out the energy, the intentions that I want to manifest in my emergent reality. So I would say no. But you can create it the way that feels safe and secure to you. Again, we all have our own ways of stepping into this vibratory field. For me, I'm just like, jump in, let's do it. Other people, you may want to feel more, call it protected, but remember, protection is also an illusion. That's a function of beliefs as well. So there's really no right or wrong way.
I hear that a lot when interacting with other people or trying to account for reciprocation as a part of this like growth pattern. So I just found it like interesting to understand like boundaries when it comes to being open to other people.
Yes. So, you know, when we're interconnected and when everyone else is accountable for their energy, imagine not having to protect ourselves. Because people don't have all that juju that they're carrying around, you know, the negative juju or the energy vampires that come around unknowingly. Because when we're more aware and accountable, there's less of that happening. And when it is there, we can now hold a space of compassion, because all of us are just doing what we know to do based on our cognitive programming. So in the space of compassion, that energy dissolves away. We're not playing the same games with one another anymore. I see you, you see me, light to light, ionation. We see everything is just a flow of brilliant divine energy. And in that co-creative space, anything becomes possible, because we are alchemists of energy. We are divine inspired beings that are here for this joyful experience, just like that child out there, like, yeah, I want some of that. That's like unbridled passion. Pass ion. Give it to me, you know, because we want passion. Passion is the access to quick manifestation. When you're feeling inspired and passionate, what isn't possible? Who can't you get on your team to go, I got this idea, it's brilliant. Who can't you enlist in that vision? Because we are co-creative partners. Collaboration versus competition is the next theme, because in collaboration we recognize we can resource one another and appreciate the interconnection that is this life, that is this next essence of civilization. My friends, I'm out of time, but I'm happy to stick around for more questions. I, heart to heart, soul to soul, appreciate your being here, sharing time and space in the ethers. It's all just an arrangement of light. Enjoy the dance of light. Look at all the ION words and notice the etymology of what you're doing with light every moment. Be accountable for your energy. Don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to resource and restore. Most importantly, be joyful. Be self-expressed. Be true to yourself. Say what you mean what you say with the greatest depth of compassion. With that, my friends, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to be here tonight.